Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with a special guest from the esteemed team themselves. Is it Bumpin' in the Night Society?
Yes.
April, how are you
Yes.
doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Kind of nervous because from when I was a little kid, you know those little fire alarm sirens that would ring through the town like really loud? I
Yeah.
used to think that was aliens coming to Earth, and it just happened like 2 minutes before we started. So I'm like, I just had that fear again. Like everyone's talking aliens now. I'm talking aliens. I'm like, one
Mhm.
day that's not gonna be a fire. That's gonna be an actual siren of like War of the Worlds, where it's like, I'm like, that's an old fog ship.
Maybe I'll get like a EBS thing on your TV or something. I live right by a firehouse, so like I'm used to the fire alarm going off.
You're used to the fire alarms going off.
Yeah. Yeah,
There,
I've always lived by a firehouse.
I don't know why we established that it would have to be that loud. Like, you know, how your alarm, there's just that one that like it's like dun 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 dun. It's like whenever I hear that, someone had that set as their ringtone, and I just got
Mhm.
a wave of anxiety where I was like, I'm up. I can't get
Right?
any more up. Like it made me think I was in like this, you ever like have a dream that you figure out it's a dream later? Like you feel like, oh, I woke up, went to work, and then you wake up and it's like, I just dreamt that. Like I thought I was awake. Like
Yeah.
that gave me anxiety that when that alarm went off was that dude's ringtone, was that I was in a fucking dream state where I was like, oh my God, like I'm still dreaming, but my dream isn't entertaining at all. It's life. It's boring. It's bland. It's not fun. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even like it's my ringtone. It's like my favorite song. So like when I wake up, it's like the happy noise. It's not one of those annoying noises because yeah,
what's the song? What's the song?
it's actually perfect by Ed Sheeran.
Okay, I like that. I've been getting really I think I'm about to change mine to Celine Dion. I know that sounds stupid, but she's got a really good like that's another thing about like as you get older, I guess you start to kind of enjoy more things, I guess, and try and find like I never used to cry at movies, but then I
Mm,
started watching movies where like I Am Legend where the dog dies. I just start
right?
fucking tearing up. I'm like, I don't know what's getting people are like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, look, if you really think about it, having a dog and then it dying and you all it gets you. It makes the
Yeah.
water start to run.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've had a couple that
So now you
have
all
the yeah. I have a bunch of dogs at my house. I'm like a dog person. I
I
used
don't
to not be, but now I'm like, okay. I've had like 4 litters. We've had a total of like 27 puppies come through my house. Oh yeah, it's crazy. And so I've had my fair share of puppies.
what are you a breeder of dogs?
No, no, it just kind of like um the first one was kind of just like an accident. We didn't even know she was pregnant, and oh wait, what's that noise? It's two puppies. So and we had never had puppies before. We didn't even know what to do with them. But after that, like he was supposed to go get fixed and ended up, you know, not getting it there in time.
I had a
Yeah.
my buddy owned a Newfoundland dog, and this woman came over our house when it was like a year and a half. It was probably 165 at a year and a half. Like this thing was like they're huge dogs. And this woman comes over, she goes, I will pay you like I think it was like a grand or something to have that dog make litters with her Labrador. And
Oh yeah.
I was like, a grand and a half? And I was like, all right, well, let's see him interact first. And our Newfoundland didn't want anything to do with this dog at all. Like, was like, nope, I'm good, not interested at all. And I was like, you know how selfish it would be to take the money and force this dog to do something that it doesn't want to do just to have a litter of puppies. And I was like, you never
Right.
even think about that. Like, because a lot of people be like, it's just a dog. I'm like, but that's the same thing for like them to us. We're just a human, but we give it food, we give it water, we give it love, we give it all these types of things. It's like you got to think in that perspective of things too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had like my first dog had like 2 litters and they were all of the same one. Or like they were the same parents. So there were 17 puppies. The next one, like, it was just like a out of the blue type thing. I walk in the room and I was like, oh, okay, that's not supposed to happen. No, like, so I've had like two female dogs, and the second female like had two litters, but the dad for those was actually supposed to go get fixed the very next day, and I had been watching them like a hawk, and like he still died. So, it's crazy because our mix is actually, the dad is um boxer, pit bull, shih tzu mix. And he actually came from he's like my dog's grand puppy. So it's kind of weird.
Get like the whole
And then,
bloodline.
yeah. And then, well, mom is a full blooded wiener dog. So my puppies are like boxer, shih tzu, pit bull, wiener dog mix.
They're just everything rolled up into one.
Yeah. And they're so freaking cute.
It's
I
like when
envision,
I took an ancestry.com test to learn my heritage, and it told me like I was British, German, Irish, basically everything that hated each other. And I'm like, am I like the uniting of the nations? Like, could I just come together and be like, guys, like
right,
I am all of you, so we should just stop fighting and end the violence, you know?
right. But yeah, it's crazy. I was so worried that they would come out with like little bodies and like big heads, that they were like, I just envisioned like pushing them across the floor. Luckily, none of them actually look like that. But then I do have a cane corso.
Oh,
But
that's a beautiful dog right there too. I've been looking in to get like an emotional support dog just to I was like, but I don't me myself, like people are like, why don't you get one? It would help with like depression and stuff. I'm like, because I don't have, I think it's gonna be even worse when I start having a responsibility of something. Like I'm okay with just taking care of myself, but then buying dog food,
mm,
then the equivalent of time of taking it outside and stuff when it needs to go out. Let's say I'm doing a podcast or something. I'm like, I would be
mm,
doing a bigger disservice if I neglected it like that. And then I went into a store, and people just get like service dog stuff sometimes when they don't even have a service dog thing. And this
yeah.
German Shepherd had like the whiniest bark I have ever heard, where it was like in the middle of the store, I just so
Oh
loud.
my
And I'm like,
gosh.
how is that dog providing any type of emotional support with that? And the guy goes, because I lost my kids in a tragic accident. So when I hear this dog scream, it gives me the caring to nurture and do this. I'm like,
Oh, well, that makes
I'm
sense.
like, now I'm an asshole. Like it was like this, but it was a whole different perspective. I've never even understood that that could be a thing, because so many people just bring them into the store to bring them into the store. Like that's
Yeah,
the reason why they pay all that money is just, I want to bring my dog into Walmart. I'm like, why? Why do you feel the need to do so? But then you understand that there's people that physically need that. And I'm like, I can see that if for me, if I was going to get emotional support dog, people go, why don't you get like this Shih Tzu? I had small dogs my whole life. I don't want a small dog. I want a giant one because I want something like people say a weighted blanket helps you in your sleep.
oh my
To,
gosh.
to me, no, I don't even like socks on my feet when I sleep. But to have a big dog lay on top of you or like lay in your lap after I was at my buddy's
Hmm.
house and he had Newfoundlands, that compassion, that love of like when this giant Newfoundland would just like as a puppy would just hop on the couch while I was like sleeping or something and just lay on top of me and drop
Oh
his
yeah.
50-pound head right on top of my head where I'm like, ow. The the feeling of that, the love from that, the just the overall sensation that all your anxieties can get drained away from that is one of the best feelings in the world.
My King Corso, like, I mean, I'm not tall. I'm 5'1", but like when I stand her up, we look eye to eye. So, but she'll come over and she'll get on my couch and she just come over there and like plops right on me. And I'm like, okay, because in the meantime, I have like other puppies out trying to get my attention, but she's wonderful. She's absolute like the best dog ever. And she's so smart. Like we told her one time, sit, and she sat. And we didn't teach her. We just told her one time, and she did. But she's like the biggest baby in the entire world. Like if you have a plastic bag and you walk toward her, if you shake it, and it's terrible because sometimes I torment my dogs because I think it's funny, and I probably shouldn't. But yeah, it's so funny to see her run, this big 100 and like some pound dog that runs from this Walmart bag, because she's afraid of it. But she's the biggest baby. She plays with our puppies. Like we have that we kept two of the puppies from the last litter, and they're not very big. They're like 20 pounds. She plays with them. Like she like bites on their ears and stuff, nothing to hurt them, but she chases them around the yard, and she's a big baby. So like they're the best.
Well, it's like when that woman asked if we would breed my buddy's Newfoundland with her Labrador. I was asking why she wanted that. She was like, "Because I think it would make beautiful puppies." And I'm like, when you're choosing something, do you want it to be beautiful, or do you want it to be where you feel the overwhelming sensation of being safe? That comfortability factor to me is the most important of, I think, of why when you choose a pet, or when you get into a conversation, or you get into an interaction with someone, I feel like you should want that comfortability, that necessity, that safeness of it, rather than like, I like talking to this person because they're beautiful. I'm like, what is that going to get you? Like,
Right.
looks fade. They're not lasting forever. And it's like, I'd rather feel 100% safe and 100% where I can truly be myself, rather than try and, build up this fake persona that of what this person likes or envisions, when you know that it might
Right.
not be a compatibility factor.
Yeah. I like my King Corso. I think my little wiener dog would probably protect me better than my King Corso. My little wiener dog, she's fierce. Like you come around me and she'll bark at you. Like if she doesn't know you. So I mean, I'm sure the other ones would join
Does
in.
she ever bark when
Yeah,
there's nothing around, and it makes you wonder, like, because you do the paranormal team and everything, so I'm wondering if that's like maybe a
yeah.
sense of like, you have to be, if you're involved in this, so you have to have some belief in the paranormal, and if that means you have some belief in the paranormal, that means you might have had some interactions.
I've had lots of interactions. Yes,
Is
I I have a little boy that lives in my house. I've had a medium come to my house, and because I knew something was here, I could feel it. My son at one point in time had been like, "Mom, something said my name from under my bed," and I was like, "Okay," and he was just little, and um, then another time, like something pushed a ball out from underneath his bed. So a friend of mine was a medium, so I had him come here and make sure it was nothing bad. And um, my very first experience was like with him telling me about this little boy, and we looked over, and my son's teddy bear was waving at us. That was just me and the medium in the house. So I looked at him. I was like, do you see that? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, so it's not just me? And he's like, no. And I was like, okay, good. But yeah, his teddy bear waved at us. It was the craziest thing.
That's why I don't have like, maybe not teddy bears, but I don't have glass like clown figures. Like, there's always that one person in your family that has glass figurines of like clowns and shit, where I don't
Hmm.
understand how that's a sense of therapy. But I used to go to my grandma's house, and she used to have like a whole entire wardrobe filled with those things. And in the middle of the night, when you're 12 years old and it's like 2 a.m. and the TV's on having that snow, which is like the static on the screen, you
Yeah,
feel like those things' heads just turn and look at you like the little marionette dolls and shit. I'm like,
right.
and no, there's years and years of history of possession with these things. I'm like, why do you want these in your home? If there's a ghost in my house, I want to make sure that there's no possible way they can hop into something and they can manifest themselves that way.
Right. Because with dolls, especially the plastic hollow ones, they can be vessels for spirits. So like that's just it's an empty vessel for them to hop into. But
h- with your experiences though, what's one that you have that's like 100% like defined, like that just changed like, what's your first one, and then what's the one that's really impacted you?
um the first one was the seeing the teddy bear.
Okay.
The second one, I'll show you if I can. I was at work and we had been having a lot of noise. My coworkers, like I take care of developmentally disabled people, And my coworkers have been saying about like different noises in the house. They claim to have seen a guy. At this point in time, I had just um, I guess not decided, but it kind of came upon me like I um I don't know how you would say it. Like I became pagan. Um
Pagan.
like yes. I actually like started meditating, and I kind of like they call it ascending, I guess, to where you're like you move up. But once I did that, um like I just became very interested in the whole pagan um just not just
The rituals.
yeah, yeah, not even that. Like I don't perform rituals. um yeah, I do cleanse houses. I do say protection spells, but like I don't get into real, like witchy stuff. I mean, I do a little bit of stuff, but nothing bad. Never ever anything bad. um but it was the whole, I'm more spiritual than I am. Yeah, like I believe in God, but at the same time, I'm more spiritual than I am religious. And so, like to me, I'm more comfortable with the nature based part of it than I am with stuff. And I have nothing against anybody of any religion at all. Like it doesn't matter to me what you are, like whatever is your own thing. But I don't. It doesn't like resonate with me.
Yeah. I always
You know,
found it like
like
like mysterious when people would like cast a spell to cleanse their house or something. I think that's like it's fun to believe in that way. I don't know if I necessarily believe that concept of it, but I mean, it's just because I think it gets played out so much of like media, like demonology and all these types of stuff. Like, I don't want to like Ouija boards still scare the shit out of me. I don't want to use one of those on the fear that I might conjure something up that might, even though I say I don't believe in it, it's still that there's that fear aspect of like, yeah, with my luck, I would be like asking a dumb question, like, what's the winning Powerball numbers? And this fucking thing comes out of the Ouija board. Like, I'm still scared to go into the mirror when it's dark and say Bloody Mary 3 times. You know what I mean? Like, there's, even though I don't believe it, there's still that fear aspect that's there because nobody really 100% knows. Nobody, it could be a certain glimpse, it could be a certain thing where something just happens that might not happen to somebody else who's done it before. You could be that first time.
right. Yeah, I did. Being stupid. Me and my friend used it. We were little, but um, then I was like, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And I do have one, but it's a decorative one, and like it sets up against the wall, but the planchet is like in a drawer across the room where there is absolutely no way for it to get close to it. So because I don't use it like that, I just like, I use it as a decoration. I have a room I call my sanctuary. It's where I keep like I have my altar. Um, I have like all my books. It's just my place where I can get to meditate. It's like my safe space. Because like
Do you think demons are real, or do you think like they might be evil spirits? Because that one sounds like, because I believe more in the paranormal than I do in like a religious based faith type thing, I would say. I just think like there's no way in my mind that like I've been around dead bodies before and I've
mm,
felt no energy, nothing like a husk of the person that I knew was there. The light just seems to be gone. So I'm like, there's no way that just vanishes. That's got to go somewhere. You know what I mean? But with evil spirits, like when people say like they cleanse their house of a demon, I'm like, are you cleansing your house of a demon? Or are you cleansing your house of an evil spirit or something that was like holding on to something? Like if I was a child that died in a house and then a bunch of people moved into my house that I fucking died in, I would be upset. Like I wouldn't be the happiest of children.
yeah. Now that's what like I have and I know that he's 5. Um, like I do, when I think of him, I like the name Jacob comes to me. Um, but I've had like some sort of interactions with him. I know he's not bad. I had the medium come check that out. That's why I had him come here. But I have been like laying in bed, and I work night shifts, so I sleep during the day. And this one time I was like laying in bed and I was like, dead asleep. And I feel like heard somebody come in the room, and I felt like someone like climbing on me. And I was like, I automatically woke up. Like I sat straight up because I was like, is it my kid? Like my kid shouldn't be home from school yet, you know? But I know there was nothing there. Like I felt somebody climb up my bed. So I was like, oh, okay. I lay back down, went right back to sleep. Another time I had to have surgery. And so I was sleeping, and I had my knee out like off the bed, and something was tapping me. And I woke up and there was nothing there because once again, it was my kid. So I was like, oh, okay, like he just wants my attention. Um, so I have had a few things like that. I can tell like there's a spot on my steps that he stands, and I can feel whenever he's there, you know, and
I've
when
had
I
psychic experiences. I've had paranormal experiences. Do you want to hear my paranormal experience when it comes to the one I've usually always mentioned, or do you want to hear like the really rare one I rarely mentioned?
the really rare one. I want the
So
one that you don't tell many people.
it's a small one. This is why I never really bring it up because I don't know what it was. But I remember like it's probably when I was like 15 years old. It was me and my mom. My mom was on one couch and I was on the other couch. And there was just a little like I guess an end table that would be in the middle, like a giant circular one. And we
Mm,
got Slurpees earlier, so I had my Slurpee cup in the middle of the table. So there's no way of it being able to fall over unless someone literally deliberately put their feet up on the counter and knocked the whole thing off. I was rolled over, so my back was to the Slurpee cup. My face was like in the couch cushions, kind of like so they just turned over, like sleeping. And my
mm,
mom was sleeping kind of like the same way, but like more like looking at the Slurpee, so just kind of like flipped. And just randomly, I mean, this Slurpee, like I just felt a flicker of water hit my eyelids, and I'm turned over on the couch, so it would have to come up in a curve
oh my
and hit me
gosh.
and hit me in the eyes, and then but it hit my mom too, and my mom's on the separate side of the room. So like it was just
That's
one, it was one Slurpee, like just a flick of water. And my mom gets up because you just feel that. And we get up at the same time. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, what the hell was that? And we look and my Slurpee standing straight up on the ground. Like it just fell off the middle of the table straight up onto the ground. Didn't spill over, just straight up. And my mom goes, what the hell is that? And looks over and there's she left a candle burning. And the candle was like going out of like control a little bit, like near where our curtains are. My mom
mm,
blew out the candle. She goes, I could have set the house on fire. And I was just like, okay. And she was like, I think that was a sign that something was trying to wake us up so we didn't die. And she
right.
considers it like my passed away grandfather. And I'm just like, I don't know if I believe that one. But the one that is, I always talk about, the one that shook my belief was like, I remember being a little kid sick all the time. And my mom used to work at this old style hotel that was built in like 1878 or something like that.
Mm,
And I remember staying there, and it's the whole theme is old school, like classic, like ballroom dances and these Victorian age like style stuff. And I remember sitting in, she's like, go up into one of the rooms and just lie down since you're home from school. I got work to do. And she worked the front desk at the hotel. It was part restaurant. And I was sitting up there, like, like kind of like watching Scooby Doo on the TV and all that. And then this woman walks by in like a maid's outfit. And she goes, how you doing, sweetheart? I didn't know anybody was staying in this room. And I'm like, no, I'm just staying home sick from school, sick. And she asked me, are you hungry? Do you want a sandwich? And I was like, no, I'm good. If I need anything, my mom said I'm not supposed to bother anybody. I'll just run down and ask her. And she's like, okay. And I was probably like, I was young, like 4 or 5 or something like that. And she goes, okay, well, if you need anything, just holler. And I was like, okay. And I was on my bed. I waited for her to walk down the hall like enough time. I was giving it like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I hopped off the bed and ran around the corner to go look around the corner, see where she's at. And she was gone. And I was like, huh. And I was like, now that she kind of brought that into my head, I am kind of hungry. So then I run down to the steps and I said, hey, can I get some food? I was asking my mom, and my aunt was standing right beside her. They both worked there. And my mom's like, yeah, what do you want? And I was like, a sandwich. And she goes, you just ate like a couple hours ago. Why are you hungry now? I was like, I don't know. So a woman walked by, asked if I wanted some food. And I just started thinking, yeah, I kind of do want some food. She goes, what are you talking about, a woman? And I described this woman wearing like an old style maid outfit and all these other types of stuff. And they just looked at me astonished, like with their mouth dropped, like, and I'm like, what's the problem? And they're like, it's just me and your aunt working here and Bob that's in the kitchen. So,
Oh my
and
gosh.
there's been paranormal experiences at that hotel with like the same description of what I saw. And I kind of just like knocked it off. I was a little kid. I was like, all right, okay. So can I get some food? And then I kind of ran upstairs and laid back down and watched Scooby Doo again. And then they brought me up a sandwich and stuff. But like, it was just that weird, like my exact description was exactly what has been picked up there many of times by many of people who've stayed there. So it was like this whole, like, I don't necessarily know if that's a, a thing, but like I said, with the whole like seeing a dead body type thing and understanding that there's just an energy there, like that bolsters into my head, like that can be a thing where there might be a frequency or something that most people can't pick off. And then sometimes, I feel like the most calming of energies, the ones that have like a more sense of like a nurture. That's why I think women most of the time coming across with like spirits more, because they're more open to like this. There's just this sense of like wholeness to them, like a little child ghost coming up to you, being able to interact with you rather than being able to interact with like a guy who's just pissed off because he was at work all day. What, that whole aspect, like it's why most movies the woman sees the ghost first rather than the guy, because there's just a sense of like the energy level is different. There's a more wholesome, like an open environment sometimes with a female energy.
It is funny that you say that, because like where my camp is at, it's like back a dirt road, and we do this thing. It's called Rock for Life. It's a charitable benefit thing where bands come play all weekend. All the money goes to a recipient, a child that has a terminal illness, and like bands come and play for free. So we get to spend the weekend there. It's a great cause, but like before my camp was there, we would have to drive home. And well, one night we're like driving down the road. Well, I was driving, and um, the way I do things is if I automatically acknowledge it, I know that it happened. But if I have to stop and think about, did I just see that? Did I just hear that? Then I'm like, no, that didn't really happen. So I was like driving down the road, and it was a dark road, and there's nobody around, like no lights or anything, because it's like you're driving in the woods. And I watched this lady in white walk across the road. So I was like automatically, did you see that? And my husband's like, no. And I was like, you didn't see that lady? And he's like, no. So I was like, okay. And another time we were driving back from there, and we got to this part in this road, and I saw this guy walking down the road. And I look at him and I was like, did you see that? Again, And here it was a guy, and the only way I can explain to him is like he was wearing like a Civil War uniform. Um, but like I was like, okay. I said, you didn't see that? And he said, no. I was like, go turn around and go back, because I want to see if I can see it again. So we did, and I could see it again, but my husband couldn't see it. And so we followed this guy down the road, and he like went into this parking lot, and I'm like, follow him into the parking lot, because I want to see where he goes. And we did. And as soon as we got down and like turned in, he had disappeared. And I was like, you didn't see any of that? And he's like, no. And I'm like, I seriously just followed this guy down the road, you know? So, but I do think that like stuff like that happens. Um, and people are more in tune. I know that since we have gone to Trans Allegheny, um, that I now get like a ringing. It's a really high pitched noise in my ear, and it's only in my left ear. And it only happens like if we're um, like at a location, or like I've had it here at home, but it doesn't happen all the time. I think it's just, I think I call it like my spidey sense. That's how
Yeah.
I know when like something is around me. Like I can feel it. Um, I can hear it.
Well, yeah, like some people use technology to be able to, the EMP or the EMC, whatever the scanner trackers are, to be able to sense if a ghost presence is in a room. I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
some people can just naturally sense that. Like, I mean, I don't know how many times I've had that urge where I'm like, someone fucking, like, I feel like I'm on the Truman Show. Like somebody's watching me right now. There's just this overall like weird feeling that you get where it feels like there's eyes on you, even though you might be in your room with the door shut. And I'm like, what is that? Like, I wish there was a
right.
way that we could have like a Google Glass or something for your eyes to be able to tell that. And Tom really freaked me out when Tom was on here a while back. Was I didn't even think of animal spirits. He goes, I saw
Mhm.
the ghost of a llama, a demon llama, and I'm like, fuck, what's worse, to be haunted by a person or haunted by an animal? Because I feel like the animal would be 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, well, the one place we were at, and right, it's off the top of my head. I can't think of which place it was, but oh, it might have been the Bel Air house. We heard a cat meowing, and people had recorded it. Like in that house, there's journals like throughout the house, and people write in it. And yeah, we heard a cat meowing. There's no cat in the house, so
What do you think is like when you come across a haunting? What do you think is the idea that why would a spirit be trying to basically, like, you hear people say like this thing was driving me crazy? Like why would a spirit want to drive a person crazy? Is it on the fact that they want them to leave, or is it an idea like if there's a serial killer ghost, or if there's a ghost that killed a bunch of people or something, like the Amityville house, the guy
oh
that stayed at the
gosh,
Amityville house went fucking nuts because the ghost was telling him to kill his family, just like this exact scenario that happened with why that whole house is haunted in the first place. And I'm
yeah,
wondering, like, is it for the entertainment of the ghost, or is it just like that thing of why they did that in the first place? It doesn't leave them even after they've passed.
yeah. I think like in the Amityville situation, especially, I would think that it is because the person that did it originally was so bad, that he just kind of stayed around to continue to, I don't want to say have his fun, but, kind of what he was doing was continuing on with his work, as I guess you would call it. But I don't think that all things that stay that are bad. I don't like, I know there's good stuff. Um, the one instance was my brother had a baby. And so he had there was a mirror that had been in his room whenever he was younger. So my mom sent it down to the house. So they put it in the nursery. And the one day, like, he was at work. So she was at home with the baby. And she heard this big, like, clomp, like something falling. And so she's searching through the house. I mean, the baby's only like 2, 3 months old at this point. Um, so she's searching through the house, like, what was that noise? And she walked up to the nursery, and here, she had a shelf on the wall with books on it. Two of the books had fell over, but a Bible that her grandfather had given her for the baby was thrown across the room. And I was like, oh, heck no. So I was like, get that out of the house. And like, cause she could hear footsteps and stuff like walking in the house. And I was like, get it out of the house. So she put it on the front porch. And then she started hearing footsteps on the front porch. And so like she kept thinking it was like somebody delivering a package or something. And I was like, no, I was like, get it off the property, because at this point, like, I've never had anything that was actually like haunted, had anything connected to it. So I'm like asking my teammates what to do with it. And they actually said to um, contact Garrett, which was the guy that was in it from Celestial Oddities. And here it just turned out that he only lived like a mile away. And so he came over and got it. And because I was like, I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, go put it in the shed. So, they did. I was like, get it away from the house. And um, he came and got it, and they haven't had like any more bad experiences like that. But they do have one that, and my brother says it has been there since he moved in. He could hear things, but when they come in the house, if the baby's sleeping, they'll leave them in the car seat. Well, the one time, like the car seat started rocking, and so they watched it, and I'm like, yeah, look, the car seat's rocking. And when the baby started fussing, it would rock faster. And then once he calmed down, it started rocking slower. So in that case, like it was something that was like nurturing, you know, because
So
I
the
can't,
kind of what I was saying about like the like a feminine spirit, like, or having an energy, like a feminine energy, or something that seems like it's not aggressive, or it's got more of a
yeah,
nurture aspect to it. Kind of the same thing with kids. Like kids don't really give off a really, like, if I'm in a room with a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, I'm not feeling threatened in any way. Like I'm like
right,
I could take this kid if he decides to get crazy. You know what I mean? But it's the energy is just lower level of energy, rather than if you compare to like a 40-year-old like guy that just worked a 16-hour shift that just wants to come home and drink a beer, and a ghost is telling him to get out. Like you're going to see a little bit more
right,
resistance with that one.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But would you like to see what if it'll show up?
If it shows
Um,
up on the camera, sure.
what I the best evidence that I have, and this is actually what got me started to looking into the paranormal more than I had been. But remember, I was telling you about my work where they were hearing things
Yeah.
and stuff. Well, the one night I went to work and I took my camera, and so I started, like taking pictures. My coworker at the time had gone into one bedroom and had, like she was in there with a client, but it, you couldn't see her because it was like in around, like the room. But so I took some pictures, and as I was looking back through them, um, I caught this.
My,
I'm
over to
like,
what is that? What is that I'm looking at? Is that a
that
black?
is a
It's a,
shadow.
yeah, it's a black shadow.
It's a shadow person.
Okay, is that a shadow? It looks like a portal.
No, there's a smaller picture. Can you see that?
And there was nobody in the.
No, that's a doorway into the bedroom.
I'm trying to think, because every time when I was a kid and I thought I saw a shadowy figure, I'm like, I'm really hoping that was like, is it better to like, would you rather have the power to be able to see spirits, or would you rather be not have that power, like not know they're there and just have the things happen? Because I feel like it'd be a hell of a lot easier if you could like eat a bowl of breakfast and then something just flies across the room and be like, all right, there's a ghost. But being able to see like a dude with like a hook for a hand while you're eating a bowl of frosted flakes, I would lose my shit. Like I'd be like, oh my God, like mini heart attacks 24/7. You know what I mean? I'd rather it like just something randomly drops or something randomly makes a noise or a bang or something, rather than being able to see a physical thing throw it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
So, needless to say, after I saw this picture, because that wasn't standing in the door when I took the picture, and there wasn't like my coworker was like, there's a bathroom in that room, and they were around in the bathroom. There was nobody in like standing in that doorway. Um, like I had my friend who he's a high priest, like like Wiccan. He I was like, you need to get me something, And so he wrote me down a thing to say while I was at work. And at the time, even though like at this point in time I was already pagan, I was reciting the Lord's Prayer, which most people don't know. But I was doing both at the same time. And I couldn't use sage to cleanse it because our fire alarms were like linked into the telephone company. So if an alarm went off in the house, the fire department just showed up. And I was like, well, that could get me in big trouble. So I had sage spray and I had holy water. So the one night I was at work and like his door was closed. So I just went over and like went crazy, like spraying it and like saying the stuff and putting holy water on it. And after that, it like the activity in the house kind of calmed down. People weren't saying that they heard stuff anymore. Now I myself I still heard footsteps. I still heard, like voices. Um, but like I have had those experiences for longer, what I mean? Like I'm more in tune, I guess, to it. Um, but nobody else was experiencing anything. So
Is it
I
a
was like,
sensation that you're feeling in the air? Like, is it something that you feel like there's just a like? I know some people like their house, like, or they like the sage in their house to cleanse it from bad energies. And I'm like, is it just like you walk in, you just feel like a weighted presence, or because like I always joke like I have demons inside me as like a joke, like the inner.
right.
I think we all got inner demons, but I hate the smell of sage, and I'm like, does that mean I'm possessed? What does that mean? Like, I don't feel like I'm
Yeah.
possessed.
No, I actually don't really like the smell sage
It
either.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It smells like weed.
That's what makes the ghost leave is it smells so bad. The ghost is like, oh, I don't even care if I'm haunting this house
right.
anymore.
But like saging has been around like for, hundreds of years, I'd imagine. I mean, like, because that's what Native Americans do. They've always, like, they use sage in their ceremonies and to, rid themselves of evil spirits and, like stuff around then, or like, you know, but like in your house, it can help get rid of negative energies, or like if say like people are depressed a lot, or you've been feeling sick, or just like an overall down feeling, cleansing your house removes negative energy. And when you cleanse it, you start from the top of the house and you work your way through the house, and you have to do it like every corner, like, I mean, it's a big deal comparing, like, I can't think of the word, depending, that's what it is, on how big your house is. And but as you go, like you leave a window open, so like all the negative energy can kind of go out of, out the window. And if you have say a ghost or whatever in your house, um, they normally tend to reside in the basements. At least that's what I have read. So the basement is what I always do last. And in my house, I don't know if you can see it. Like I'm gonna tilt um my camera a little bit. Can you see that ball up there?
Yeah.
Okay. That's called a witch's ball. It has like lavender and sage and like different stuff like that in it. And it's basically used to keep out like negative stuff. Also on all of my doors, my bedroom doors, all the outside doors, I have a bag of salt that hangs on every doorknob, like in my house. And on the outside door, I think I'm trying to say, on the inside doors too, basically all the doors in my house. Um, I also put a circle in with chalk at the top of the door. All of these things are supposed to keep out negative energy. Like negative energy can't pass these points. So,
Kind of like I have someone in my family that's pretty spiritual, and I was walking up to my house with my cousin one day, and my cousin goes, "Don't you think it's weird that she has that over the door?" And I'm like, "What's over the door? The painting?" He goes, "You know what that is, right?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And it's a wood piece plank over my door, and it has red paint splattered across it. And it's like in pagan, that's supposed to be the splattered of your firstborn child or something like that. The blood of your firstborn child keeps out bad spirits out of your home. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not my brother's blood, but yeah, that's paint, but I guess it kind of gives, if that's what, you do it in that way, might make you feel more comfortable or something like that. But you start to notice a lot of things that people have. Like I started noticing in my neighborhood, people have like either whether it's a tattoo or whether it's something that they have on their house. You start to realize like, that was something back in the day that would keep out bad spirits. You start to realize how like kind of spiritual people are around here.
Yeah, people will use runes actually also, which are symbols, and each rune means a different thing. And you put them like on your door. You can put them on your doors, like on the inside, and it keeps out the bad stuff. Like me myself, I don't know if you can see it right here. Can you see that one?
Yeah.
That is one for like positivity and protection. Um, so, and like I have other runes like on my body that means different things. Um, hold on, my friends are falling off. But yeah, like I don't know, maybe I don't know if it works, if it doesn't work. I think it's just like the more you believe in something, the more like it manifests itself. Do you know what I mean?
It's kind of like a
Like,
placebo too. Like if you think about like if I was gonna go to like arc an asylum or something, and
mm,
it was like a haunted asylum or like what's the one that everyone always talks about, the famous one, Alcatraz. If I was gonna go to
ah,
Alcatraz and somebody told me if they could tattoo a sigil into my arm or sigil into my shoulder that would keep out bad spirits or keep out possession, it would make me a hell of a lot more confident going in there. You know what I mean?
right, yeah, yeah, like that. I mean, if you could do that, that would be cool. I mean, that's kind of like one of those things of supernatural,
That's what
where
I'm
they
saying.
have
Yeah, yeah.
where the thing on their chest. Um, but yeah, um, I'm trying to think. So, like, as far as um, like whether or not stuff is real, I actually had an experience in Bel Air. My first investigation was at Bel Air, and but that time, I know like Mikey told you about the whole. Did he tell you about the whole possession thing?
What do you
Where
mean?
like where the one guy got possessed.
Oh, where he was with Garrett and he slapped the one dude in the face or something like that? He
Well,
was
that was
possessed.
his one friend.
Okay.
But there was another guy, well, um, I guess Mikey wasn't with us the first time, but when he was talking to you, because I watched your podcast with him, when he was talking about the person that was oppressed, that was actually me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What did that feel like though? What did that
It was weird. I was there my very first investigation. Somebody actually got like possessed at that house, and I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, we stuff was done to make it go away. I can't get into details because it's something we can't talk about, but and it's only because we agreed,
Okay,
like with
that's fine.
the person, not to talk about details with that. But with me, like in the attic there, I was up there with Garrett and this other lady named Peggy, and Garrett was like trying to talk to stuff. Like we were doing a spirit box session, and I felt that something like standing beside me, and like it felt like it was like standing right beside me. It was a little bit weird. But so I'm sitting there, and like all of a sudden, like half of my body, like if you were to cut me right in the middle, like the whole way down, like half of my body, like on the right side, it all had like this numb, weird feeling to it. I don't even know how to describe it exactly. It was just, but it was exactly like half of my body, which was insane. And so I was kind of like, oh, that was weird, And I thought it was just because that whatever was standing beside me was so close to that side that it was interacting like that. And so I was good. Like we were done and we went downstairs and um after we were done investigating for the night, like I went to bed and I was good. Um didn't have any problems the first night. Next day, um I go downstairs and I'm like sitting at the table and I'm just sitting there and I can feel myself. I start doing this rocking, like like this. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Like doing this just, but it was like just a little tiny rocking, which is it's actually hard for me to do it on it my own, to like make my body do it like the same motion. And I was like, that's weird. Like first I had my elbows on the table and I was like, well, maybe if I take my elbows, maybe it's just the way I'm sitting. So I sat up and I was like, no, I was still rocking. So I was like, okay. So I tried standing up and I was like,
Is someone using
no,
a fruit ninja?
nothing. A fruit ninja? No.
Sounds like a blender was going off.
Oh, my it was probably a big truck.
Oh, okay.
I'm in my bedroom.
Okay.
So like there's a road right outside my street. Um but I was like I stood up and I was like still doing this rocking thing. And I was like, all right, well, apparently I said, I'm gonna go like out. I was sitting there. I don't know if it was before I took a nap or after I took a nap. I think it was before. Um, I remember like zoning out and they would be talking to me and I would kind of like focus for a second and I would think that I was answering them, but like I would only say like one or two words and like um I didn't know even about me slapping myself until I watched Mikey on your podcast. I was like, oh, I was like, it was weird because I had no idea. And so apparently I was like zoning out pretty good. Well, I went upstairs. I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna take a nap. Maybe maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I just need to relax. So I went upstairs and I laid down and I laid down on my side and I was like rocking back and forth. So I'm getting into my phone and I'm like, I always do a protection spell over me.
Mm-hmm.
I wear protection jewelry and everything like when I go into these places. Um, so I'm like getting in my phone and I'm like, okay, I need some protection spells. I actually fell asleep like saying them. And so like they came and they woke me up to check on me. And I come downstairs and I was fine. And I was like, all right, well, let's get back to investigating. Like I was
Yeah.
like, let's go. Well, so we went back up to the attic again. And when we did, I was like, I sat in a different spot and Garrett was again doing like the spirit box. And this time I could feel something standing on the other side of me. So now it's on the opposite side of my body because I was sitting on the opposite side of the room. And I felt that weird feeling like going, like taking over again. And it was exactly half my body, same as it was before. And I started with that weird rocking. And I was just like, oh, hell no. I don't know if I can say that word on there. I'm sorry. I was just like, oh, no, no, we're not doing this. Nope, nope, nope. And they're like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm doing that weird rocking thing again. I like ran down all like the 2 flights of steps. And I'm sitting at the table and I'm like concentrating, going over my protection spells and just like really concentrating on like focusing on not letting anything happen. So Garrett's like, well, just don't think about it. And so we went in and we did like a spirit box session where somebody will put on headphones, like normally like big ones like these. So it cancels out all the noise. And um, we'll ask questions and then the person wearing the headphones plugged into the spirit box will answer. And so we were doing that. And it was funny because it's like on one of the bloopers that we have. Um, I was sitting over in the couch and I was actually sitting behind Garrett. And on the blooper, it makes this, you can hear this hissing noise. And they were all freaked out because they were like, "Oh my God, is April hissing?" Because at this point in time, they were a little bit freaked out that I think that this was going on. And here I know what it was. It was my pop bottle. I had opened it and I was trying to open it quietly, and instead it made it like hiss for longer. And so it kind of like lightened the mood. And like after that, like we investigated, for longer that night. I went to bed, and the next day, like I woke up, I was fine. Um, I like Garrett came in the room and like he grabs this thing off of the top of the cabinet, and I was like, "What's that?" and he said it was like some kind of I spell something of sort, maybe a picture. I don't know. I'm not into like the kind of stuff that he's
Yeah.
into. Um, but he's like basically he put it up there to protect me, and I was like, oh, okay. So like since then I've been fine. I've done numerous investigations since then. Um, I I catch myself like every once in a while I'll start that rocking, and I'm like, nope, no, stop it. Like
Yeah.
I don't think anything is still in there. I think it's just like, maybe like my mind just wanders back. But what I was thinking of was when I go to places, like I ground myself. You know what grounding is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I ground myself when I go to places. And when I went there, I did it on the property. So I don't know. And like, I didn't really, like, I've talked to my teammates about it, but not a whole lot. So I don't know if like when I was grounding on the property, like I should have went somewhere else, but it's right in a neighborhood. So there really wasn't anywhere else for me to go. Um, I don't know if it, maybe by me doing that, it made it easier for whatever it was to kind of, you know, try to take a hold. I mean, it didn't, like I didn't get actually possessed like the person before did. I didn't do anything freaky like that. Um, but I was kind of wondering. So now if I do any grounding, I do it, not on the property.
Yeah, I would do it
But
down the road so you're not putting yourself on the property of where the haunting is. And the next thing you know,
yeah,
that thing's just gonna get into you easier. Makes sense.
yeah, that's what I was thinking because I didn't think about it at the time. I just went out and did grounding like I've done, before. And but yeah, afterwards I was like, I wonder if like I kind of like in a way attached myself to the house.
And now you're part of
And
the team. You get to do these
I
adventures.
I
That's
am.
crazy. I didn't know you were part of Mikey's story about that. That's nuts.
Yeah, yeah. When I watched his podcast, yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I was waiting for him to say my name, but I was like, okay, well, when I come on here, then I can finish telling you the story of how it went. But now after that, like, I don't know, like, if because if that happened, like, after that is when we went to, I think after that is when we went to Trans Allegheny. And there is where I started being able to hear that noise. And the only way I can explain it is like if you could hear like a dog whistle, um, it kind of sounds like that. Like I mean, I can't hear a dog whistle,
I hear that a
obviously.
lot, like a loud, like high pitched buzz noise, but I just think it's like one
Yeah,
of my like TVs acting up or something.
yeah. No, it's like it's so high pitched that I almost can't hear it. But it's weird because I can feel it like
In
in
your
the back
back.
in the back of my throat. And like not only just inside, but on the outside in the back. And that's kind of become my way of how I judge on what's around me. I think I'm just maybe becoming, and I probably sound like I'm crazy. Like your viewers are going to be like, "What is she talking
Well,
about?"
you're becoming more in tune with kind of like the idea of it. I mean, you have to think if you're involved around paranormal stuff 24/7, and you start getting really dived into it, then eventually you're probably going to start kind of in tuning yourself with that. It's like if I play guitar, I'm not going to be good the first couple of times, but eventually I'm going to learn how to play by ear. I'm going to learn a bunch of other things. You're just becoming more involved into it.
Yeah. Well, and like I'm an empath, so it kind of already gives me that little edge of feeling the activity. You know what I mean? Like the energies around me.
Yeah.
Um, but I also think I have chronic migraines and I have cluster headaches. And I do, when I have a migraine, I do call it there my spidey senses. My all of my senses become very heightened. Like everything, like the light is so much brighter and sounds are so much louder and like smells. Oh gosh, one tiny little smell bleach automatically gives me a migraine. But so I call it my spidey senses. So I don't know if like that has anything to do with it. Like my brain's kind of wired a little bit different because I have that. But yeah, the more I do it, the more I am becoming like in tune with, I think, like what's going on. And the more I research it and yeah, kind of hang out with them, like it's nice. I was very honored whenever they asked me to join that group, and this might make me cry. I might cry a little bit. I might get a little bit emotional.
Well, they're
Um,
great people. That's the thing is like when I see pictures, well, when I see your freaking all of you guys in a Justin Bieber photo shoot, like I do when you guys, I like it because it's a fun thing. I mean, they're great people. Mikey's great, Sean's great, Tom's great, everybody's great
yeah,
involved in it. But it's an overall experience if you can be yourselves and you don't have to be too serious about it either. You can have a joking
right.
side to it too, and I think that's important. I mean, you always see like X Files. So I mean, if you look at any of those shows like X Files or Ghost Hunters, those people on those shows, they might seem nice on television, but they don't like each other. Like there's plenty of accounts of them fighting
Yeah,
back and forth. And it's like you get to hear that you have such fun on the team. It's an overall sense of everybody's in agreement of like, we're here to do this for the love of it, not just the idea of trying to be like the next big hit.
it is. And I told them like whenever they asked me, I was like, "Are you serious? Like, you're not kidding me right now, are you?" And they're like, "No." And I was like, "Okay." And like, I was so honored that they would ask me because they are very into it. Like, like we have, they're so professional about it and everything. But at the same time, we do have fun. We have, like we have good times. Um, but like with them, I automatically feel like I'm part of the family,
Yeah.
you know, and like it was an automatic. I mean, I have all last summer I investigated with them, not as one of the team. I went along because like there were openings and I signed up for like every possible place that we could go to. Um, and so I wasn't part of the team then, so I kind of felt like an outsider. Like even though they knew me, I had known Garrett, like I've known Garrett since like the year 2000. So, like I still felt like an outsider. And now I feel like I'm actually like part of a family. And it's a pretty awesome feeling. They're great. I absolutely love them. We do have fun. It's not all serious all the
Yeah.
time, but yeah,
Well,
it's great.
I'm happy you're a part of the team, and I'm
Oh,
glad to
well,
be able
thank
to
you.
represent you guys on my show. I just got my shirt the other day. I was wearing it in a couple
I
episodes.
saw that. I was
Um,
like so hoping that I would have my shirt. Like it's a Mikey's on because they all live. I know you live in like Ocean
Maryland.
City,
Yeah.
right? Um, well, I live in like they all live in like Pittsburgh. I live like 40 miles away from Pittsburgh. Like I live in this tiny little dinky town in Pennsylvania. But so like I have like my brother made all our decals that we have on our car. So I had to like get them off all of them. But they had the t-shirts. So I'm like, I so wish I had my t-shirt. I could be like, wearing it today, but
Yeah.
I'm not getting it till tomorrow if that's all right.
Well, I'll make sure I link the Bumping in the Night Society in the description so everybody can follow them on Instagram and check out the
Mhm.
team. I'm looking forward to see your guys' success in it as well. Funny videos here are coming up. I'm looking forward to that. I know Mikey's got a special one planned for me with Mr. Rogers because
Oh gosh,
he knows
yes.
my conflict with that. But
We
I'll make sure I link it all in the description. I appreciate you for coming on, April.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Like I was so honored whenever you were like, "Oh, you want to come on here?" And I'm like looking at your page and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like you talked to all these people, you know?" And like I watched you talk to that Power Ranger the other day, and I'm like, "What?" Like, okay, but like
It's
the
it's easy to talk. Like I said, it's fun.
it
Our
is.
an hour and 10's already gone by. Like I said, it's just
Oh my
fun when
god,
you're just
yeah. And
being in the moment.
I'm a talker too, so like it's not. We could sit here and talk all day. You would have like a whole week's worth of podcast, but yeah, I'm very thankful for you to for having me. I will give a shout out if it's okay.
Yeah,
That we have our very first video coming out. I don't know when you'll be putting this up, but it's coming out on the 13th.
it's gonna be a
It's
little bit
our
after that.
first,
Yeah,
yeah, but it'll, they, they can go look for it. But it's the documentary for trans Allegheny. So it's our first one. Um, and like you can find us on Facebook. We have a private group on there, like where you get invited in. I mean, you can send us like
yeah. I linked it
ask,
all in the description for
yeah,
people to see that, the
because
Instagrams and all that too.
Instagram and like Twitter, and I was like TikTok. They had me going through this all the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, why do we have like we have a ton of pages? I didn't realize because I don't handle that kind of like
Yeah,
that stuff, but I'm the photographer, you know. So, but yeah, but thank you very much, and maybe we'll get to talk again in the future, and I can share some more stories with you.
I'll have you and Mikey
So
on at the same time. How about that?
that would be great. Yeah, yeah. He's a hoot. He just makes me laugh. But yeah, it would be great.
Well, thanks for
So
listening to this episode of Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.